These are the highlands of Irian Jaya, the western portion of New Guinea, governed by Indonesia. The highest peaks reach over 5,000 meters, with plateaus as high as 2,500 meters. This huge and remote territory is shared by many different Papuan peoples. Cone-shaped huts cling to the slopes, beside carefully aligned small gardens. This is Jalimo, the land of the Yali people, also called the Џaјe. Situated on the boundary of two tectonic plates, New Guinea suffers frequent earthquakes and landslides. This film was made in 1988, soon after the region had been hit by a wave of devastating quakes. On the 2nd, 13th, and 26th of February, the tremors measured 5.8 on the Richter scale. On the 28th of April, 6.1. On the 7th of July, 7.1. Jalimo was devastated. The area was left looking like a lunar landscape. Took a heavy toll. 30 Yali villages and all their gardens disappeared under landslides. A severe famine followed, further weakening the survivors. And as always, the children are the first to succumb. Relatives have gathered to mourn a dead child, who will be cremated as Yali funeral custom requires. No one knows how many died in the disaster, but of a total population of 8,000, 2,000 lost their house and garden. They have sought refuge in the villages spared by the quakes. But before they can start anew, they must deal with their grief for those who have died, and their fear rekindled every few days by new tremors.
Our
largest sweet potato garden is
Here
too, there was a major landslide. There were 5 houses there, all crushed by the rocks. All the gardens have gone, and it's a daily struggle to find food. I was feeding the pigs when the ground started to shake. I rushed to my house to get my wife. We saw a wall of rocks racing towards us. I grabbed my wife by the hand and we ran as fast as we could, but a big stone hit her on the jaw and she let go of my hand. In an instant, She was buried under the rocks. I came back to find her, but she was gone.
I was playing with some friends when the earth started to slide. It was coming this way, so I ran away. My friends ran the other way and were hit by the flow. This is where they were buried.
I was knocked down by a wave of stones. I got back on my feet and ran. When I think about my wife, I cry and cry. I won't forget her. We were very close and she took good care of me.
In the village of Asuruma, spared by the disaster, life goes on more or less as usual, and an initiation ceremony is being prepared. The only day-to-day clothing the Yali wear is a skirt made of hundreds of rattan hoops. Rattan does not grow at this altitude. They obtain it through trading with peoples who live further south, about a 6 weeks walk away. The skirts cost between 6 and 12 pigs and indicate men of importance. Another peculiarity of their costume is the koteka, a penis sheath of impressive dimension, which, though cumbersome, is very practical for holding the rattan hoops in place. Apart from dogs, pigs are the only domestic animals the Yali have. This woman raised this pig like her child and is very attached to it. But its sacrifice is necessary for the initiation ceremony. More than just food or items of trade, pigs are ritual objects, cementing all key social relationships. Until their initiation, which takes place when they're between 4 and 8 years old, boys live with their mothers and sisters and have rare contact with the world of men. The initiation ceremony is designed to separate them from feminine influence and admit them into the community of the men's house, the sacred building forbidden to women. Shaving the boys' hair is the first ritual, meant to strip them of every link to their mothers and childhood. The first steps into the men's house are taken while chewing meat from the sacrificed pig. The sacred pig, which in Yali mythology gave birth to their people. Pork fat is at the heart of most rituals. Applied on the initiate's body, it protects them from diarrhea and stomachache. The ancestor spirit's protection is also invoked. Dear ancestors, cleanse these children of any crimes and disgrace that may have sullied them. And for extra safety, the children are given a large mouthful of pork fat. The ultimate guarantee of healthy growth is this necklace of sugarcane. Considering the numerous rituals designed to protect the children from disease, one could surmise that Yali life expectancy is low. And in fact, only 1 in 10 live beyond 10. Useful advice accompanies the first lesson in archery. Never forget your enemy. If you're attacked, take revenge. Under the influence of missionaries, tribal wars have now officially disappeared. The last occurred as recently as 1977. Once initiated, the boys are allowed to sleep inside the men's house. There, the elders teach them the history and laws of their tribe and how to face adult life. After some time, they will be entitled to wear rattan skirts like their fathers.
Look at this land. It's been buried in the rocks, and there's nothing left to eat. We only once received emergency food supplies, and they're almost gone. When I think about my kinsmen and the starving children, I want to cry. If a pig dies, at least it becomes food. People starving to death.
We
moved here because of the landslides, but there's no land left. We have very little food. If we could borrow someone's land and sow, we would get a good crop. We would like to make the cattle understand that we are in trouble. The authorities should help us. If they don't, all we can do is wait for our starving families.
A month has passed since the last earthquake. The survivors have taken heart and work on their borrowed gardens. The planting of the gardens is not random. It's the men of knowledge, known as the big men, who will decide what to plant, where, and in what quantity. The Yali do not refuse contact with the modern world, but their rare contact with outsiders has barely influenced their traditional way of life. The techniques they use have hardly changed in millennia. Stone axes are still in use here. Produce from one garden can feed a family of 6 people for about 6 weeks. So each family has to cultivate several gardens and space out their crops throughout the year. A number of other plots are set aside for ceremonial and festive foods. But of the 20 gardens they cleared in 3 weeks, these men will only be entitled to cultivate 2 plots for themselves, the others remaining for the owner's use. To thank them for the work they've done, the owner has given them sweet potatoes and pandanus fruit. For Shirahan and his friends, it's a real feast. Apart from the 2 tons of rice they received as aid, the survivors have had only sweet potato leaves and wild vegetables to eat since the quakes destroyed their gardens. The gardens they planted with sweet potatoes were a long way away from the village, but bananas, tobacco, pandanus, and gourds are grown nearby. The same man who has shared his land has put his gourd garden at the disposal of the disaster victims. Taking a gourd without permission would be considered theft and could be the cause of a long feud. In Yali tradition, everything belongs to someone, even the places where trees can be cut and where wild berries and nuts can be gathered. The same goes for streams, although everybody is allowed to fish in them. Ownership is regulated by a complex code, the violation of which is always punished. That is why the survival of those who have lost everything or who can't get to their gardens because of the landslides is anything but sure. Gourds are grown exclusively to make penis sheaths. Once ripe, they are fire hardened and hollow.
Bobo, panas. Ini perlu dapat nunggu kalau mana tanggal mana mana nih.
Ayat mana tapi kita harus sama kapal ini juga harus kita kemana.
These women planting sweet potatoes come from a village which had 900 inhabitants. 32 people died, and over 4,000 gardens were engulfed. The first crop won't be ready for 9 months. In the meantime, they will breed pigs, hunt, and gather wild plants. But the long-term survival of the Yali depends on the yield of these gardens. The chief Shirhan has decided to perform a ritual designed to improve the growth of the recently planted sweet potatoes. 100 kilos of sweet potatoes, given by neighboring villages, are taken inside the men's house. They will be charred and thus inedible, but will help guarantee the future crop. The men stir the tubers with sticks. If, at the end of the cooking, one of them has retained its original shape, it seems a good omen. A chant is addressed to the sweet potato spirit.
If a perikilko bird is raised from early childhood, it will grow healthy. You too, sweet potato, grow well. We dare to charge sweet potato in times of starvation. We implore you, in your goodness, grant us a good harvest.
For the ritual to work, Shirahan must circle the hearth on all fours. Good news. One potato has kept its original shape. It seems the spirit has heard Shirahan's prayers. To further improve the prospect for the harvest, Shirahan has decided to organize a dance designed to ward off evil spirits. For the Yali believe that they are the cause of the landslides and earthquakes. Men from neighboring villages will take part, dressed in their best rattan skirts. Before going to the village, they carefully watch in the stream. Bodies, skirts, and sheaths must shine. Other men arrive, bringing masses of orchid fibers that will be used for making the wigs they will wear for the dance. Almost 2,000  Ljali people are homeless and hungry, almost a quarter of the population. Their future is bleak. Today they have found shelter and help with friendly villagers. But this can only be temporary. In a society that only produces enough food for daily needs, they represent an enormous burden. And they can't take over lands that were spared by the earthquakes, since they already belong to someone. Such a difficult situation could trigger a revival of tribal wars. The dance that will drive away evil spirits from their land is their last hope. In December 1988, after this film was made, the earth shook again in the highlands. Isolated in the mountains, receiving little aid from the outside world, the Ljali live in constant fear of natural disasters.